The elderly woman collapsed to the ground, her shopping cart scattering as three young men burst into laughter. "Get out of our way, old witch," one of them shouted. Dorothy Williams, 73 years old, had simply come to Carson Market to do her weekly shopping. But these young men were about to give her the worst day of her life. Or so they thought. Because what they didn't know was this: she wasn't just an ordinary grandmother. She was the mother of Jake Iron Fist Williams, the most feared Hell's Angels member in the city. Dorothy had come to the store that day to pick up just a few basic necessities. This gentle woman, living on her pension, never harmed anyone, and always said please and thank you. She lived alone in the small house her son Jake had bought for her, got along well with her neighbors, and attended church regularly. But today, as she checked her shopping list, she caught the attention of three young men. Tyler Morrison, 22 years old, was a wannabe social media influencer. Mason Torres and Brad Chapman were his loyal followers. All in their 20s, athletic builds, constantly causing trouble wherever they went. That morning, Tyler had posted on his story, "I'm going to create epic content for you today. Going to the market to film a prank video. Crazy things are going to happen." His 85,000 followers were waiting in excitement. His plan was simple: harass elderly people and film their reactions. This is going to go viral for sure, he thought. Mason and Brad supported this idea because appearing in Tyler's videos could make them famous too. "Look at that old hag," Tyler said, grinning at his friends. "Perfect target." Dorothy hadn't noticed any of them, slowly pushing her shopping cart toward the dairy section. She had lingering pain from surgery on her leg last year, so she couldn't rush and had to take careful steps. She pulled out her shopping list from her purse and read it. Milk, bread, eggs, cat food. For Oscar, the stray cat. As Dorothy reached for the last carton of organic milk on the shelf, Mason shoved her hard from the shoulder. "Excuse me, Grandma, but that's ours," he said, grabbing the milk carton. Dorothy lost her balance, her elderly hand searching for support on the shelf. She was already struggling to maintain her balance due to the effects of her heart rhythm medication. "Sir, I was here first," she said in her gentle voice, trying to steady her breathing. But Tyler had already pulled out his phone and started a live stream. "What's up, crew? I'm at Carson Market right now, and I'm going to give you epic content," he shouted into the camera. "Old lady fighting over milk." The viewer count was rapidly climbing. 500, 1,000, 2,500. Comments like, "Poor lady," and "This is wrong" were mixing in. Other customers were starting to notice the situation, but no one could find the courage to intervene. Dorothy's face flushed red, her eyes filled with tears of shame. "Please, I'm just trying to do my shopping," she said. Brad burst into laughter, raising his voice. "What? Don't you want to be famous on social media? You're getting famous for free." Tyler brought the phone closer to Dorothy. "Guys, look how angry this old lady is. She's fighting over milk." Dorothy tried to turn away and leave, but Mason blocked her path. "Where are you going, Grandma? The fun's just getting started." He yanked the cart from Dorothy's hands. Inside were carefully selected organic eggs, a ball of yarn she was going to knit something for Jake, a can of cat food, and bread. Everything scattered to the floor. Cans rolled around, eggs cracked, the yarn ball unraveled. Dorothy dropped to her knees, trying to gather her scattered belongings. "Please stop," she pleaded, her voice trembling, her hands beginning to shake uncontrollably. Her nervous system was already sensitive due to her age, but the young men became even more aggressive. "No way, this is hilarious." Tyler brought the phone even closer. "Guys, 8,000 people are watching live right now. The old lady is desperately picking up her garbage from the floor." Mason crouched next to Dorothy with a mocking voice. "Grandma, maybe we should help you out." Then he threw broken eggshells toward Dorothy's hair. Brad kicked the cat food can. "Oops, your nasty cat's food is gone too." Tears began streaming down Dorothy's face. She had been saving money for weeks for that cat food. It was important for Oscar, the only food source for the old stray cat. Tyler zoomed in to capture this. "Ooh, she's crying. This is so epic." The viewer count had risen to 12,000. Comments were pouring in like an avalanche. Mason shoved Dorothy hard from behind, causing her to lose her balance and fall hard onto the concrete floor. A deep cut opened on her left knee. Even worse, the glass face of the watch on her left wrist had shattered. This watch was the only memento left from her husband Robert, who had died 45 years ago. Robert had served in Vietnam, and after returning home, he struggled with PTSD for the rest of his life. But he had loved Dorothy deeply and bought this watch with his first paycheck. "I think of you every second," he had said when giving her the watch. Now glass fragments were scattered everywhere, and the watch had stopped. As Dorothy tremblingly gathered the broken glass pieces, Brad kicked her purse with his foot. The money and cards inside scattered everywhere. The $47 remaining from her pension, her credit card, and ID card fell to the floor. "Oops," he mocked. "Old people shouldn't be so clumsy." Tears were streaming down Dorothy's face, but she was still trying to maintain her composure. When Jake was little, he had told her, "Mom, this world is a tough place. But you're a strong woman. Always stay calm. I'll protect you." Back then, Jake was only 16 years old. His father had died, and only the two of them were left at home. They had both clung to each other, trying to survive. Jake had dropped out of school and started working, doing everything for his mother. Now he was 34 years old, and one of the most respected members of the Hells Angels. Back at the market, Tyler leaned over Dorothy. "What's wrong, old hag?" "Why are you crying? This is just a prank." Dorothy responded in her calm voice. "Please leave. I just want to do my shopping." Mason laughed hard at this. "Shopping? All your shopping is on the floor. Maybe you need to learn how to pick things up from the trash now." Store manager Mark Thompson had seen what was happening from a distance, but was afraid to intervene. These young men looked strong and aggressive. Someone should call security, he thought, but he didn't have the courage to take action. Fights in the store had been increasing lately, and he didn't want to lose his job. Other customers continued their shopping as if nothing was happening. An elderly couple whispered, "Someone should do something, but they might beat us up too." These young men look very aggressive. A young mother, Lisa Martin, held her child tighter and moved away. "Children shouldn't see things like this," she thought. Cashier Jenny was trying to call security, but the line was constantly busy. Dorothy murmured, "This watch is very precious to me," but it was as if she was talking to herself. "My Robert gave it to me. He bought it with his first paycheck." Tyler heard this and burst into laughter. "Precious? This piece of junk? Look what old people call valuable." He kicked the broken pieces of the watch with his foot, scattering them even further. Mason took the phone, taking over from Tyler. "Let me film too. Let's see it from a different angle." He filmed Dorothy up close. "Look how pathetic this old lady is, crying over a broken watch." Meanwhile, the viewer count had exceeded 20,000. Comments were pouring in like an avalanche, but most commenters were now criticizing, "This is sick. Someone call the police. Poor woman. You're disgusting." Tyler ignored these, focusing only on the supportive ones. As Dorothy tried to get up, a small photograph fell from her purse. In the photo was a powerfully built man with a long beard, Jake. He was wearing a black leather vest with a large Hells Angels patch on his chest. Behind him stood a massive Harley-Davidson motorcycle. Mason picked up the photo and looked at it. "Who's this, your grandson?" he mocked. Brad looked over his shoulder. "Whoa, is this guy in a motorcycle gang?" Tyler showed the photo to the camera. "Guys, the old lady's family is in a motorcycle gang. This just got even funnier." Dorothy desperately reached out to get the photo back. "Please, that's my son." "That photo is very important to me." Tyler focused the phone on the photo. "The old lady's son is in Hells Angels, apparently." How pathetic. He can't even protect his own mother. But none of them had read the writing on the back of the photo. "Jake Iron Fist Williams, Hells Angels Road Captain. For my beloved mother, I will always protect you. 2023. And right at that moment, very faint motorcycle sounds began coming from the distance, but it was a noise that was getting closer. Dorothy's ears were familiar with these sounds. Jake would come every weekend and take her for rides on his motorcycle. "Mom, the weather's nice today. Want to take a ride?" he would say. Dorothy would reply, "Of course, son, but drive slowly." Jake always drove carefully when his mother was with him, but the sounds coming now were different. This wasn't just one motorcycle. It was the sound of many motorcycles. And they were approaching. A very slight smile appeared on Dorothy's lips, because she also recognized the motorcycle sounds of Jake's friends. Razor, Tommy's Sportster; Tank, Mike's Road King; Snake, Eddie's Fat Boy. They all had different sounds, and now they were all coming together. Tyler was still filming. "Guys, 25,000 people are watching right now. This old lady story is going viral." Mason noticed Dorothy's smile. "What are you smiling about, old hag? Want more fun?" Tyler moved even closer to Dorothy, pointing the phone at her face. "Tell us, Grandma, why isn't your biker son rescuing you?" "Huh? Where's that tough motorcycle gang?" Dorothy calmly responded, "He's coming." Tyler burst into laughter. "What? Is he Superman? How's he going to get here? Is he going to fly?" Brad and Mason laughed too. "The old lady's lost it," Brad said. "She thinks she's hearing motorcycle sounds." But the motorcycle sounds were getting closer and closer. Tyler continued filming. "Guys, this old lady thinks her biker son is coming. How hilarious." But different things were now being written in the comments. "Dude, run. Hell's Angels coming. You're in trouble. Get out of there." Tyler didn't read these, again only seeing the supportive messages. The market building was now starting to tremble slightly. The window-rattling motorcycle sounds were growing louder. The deep, powerful characteristic sound of Harley-Davidson engines. Tyler finally began to notice these comments. "What do you mean, Hell's Angels? This is just an old lady." But Brad had rushed to the window. "Tyler, look outside!" Outside, massive motorcycles were coming down Carson Street. 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, 30. Harley-Davidson motorcycles were approaching in convoy formation. On them were men in black leather vests and helmets, each with large Hell's Angels patches on their backs. That morning, Jake was having a routine meeting with his friends at Tom's garage. It was the Hell's Angels weekly gathering. They were checking their motorcycles and making weekend plans. When Jake's phone rang, unknown number appeared on the screen. Normally he wouldn't answer, but he instinctively felt it was important. "Jake Williams," he said. A woman's voice came from the other end. "Mr. Williams, this is Jenny calling from Carson Market. Your mother is here. She's in trouble." The color drained from Jake's face. "What do you mean she's in trouble?" "3 young men are harassing her, pushing her around. They scattered her belongings. She's injured. Please come." Jake hung up the phone and looked at his friends. "My mom's in trouble at Carson Market. Everyone start your engines. Now." The Hell's Angels members didn't ask any questions. No one could touch Jake's mother. That was an unwritten rule. 30 motorcycles left the garage within 2 minutes. Jake in front, the others behind. Iron Fist Jake Williams was a giant at 6 feet 4 inches tall, weighing 250 pounds. His arms were covered with tattoos from head to toe. The market door opened, and Jake walked in. Behind him were 29 Hell's Angels members, each over 6 feet tall, muscles bulging, stern expressions on their faces. When Jake saw Dorothy on the ground, injured, his expression hardened with anger. His jaw tightened, his fists clenched. Jake knelt beside his mother, his voice gentle, but worried. "Mom, how are you? Does it hurt?" he asked in his soft voice. Dorothy touched her son's face, placing her injured hand on Jake's cheek. "Jake, I'm fine. I just fell a little. Don't worry at all." Jake saw his mother's bleeding hand, the broken watch, the scattered groceries. His eyes shifted to Tyler, and the phone still in his hand. The live stream was continuing. 50,000 people were watching. Then he raised his head and looked at Tyler, Mason, and Brad. These 3 young men no longer looked strong at all. Tyler's phone was violently shaking in his hand, no trace of his earlier demeanor. Jake stood up, gently seated his mother in a chair, and took off his leather jacket, draping it over his mother's shoulders. "Now," he said, changing his tone so all the customers could hear. "Who hurt my mother? Tank Mike stood beside him as Jake's right-hand man, a giant weighing 300 pounds, his bald head covered with tattoos. Razor, Tommy stood on the left side, his neck completely tattooed, cold anger in his eyes. Snake, Eddie stood in the back, a dark-skinned man with snake tattoos on his arms. 30 Hells Angels members had surrounded the market. Tyler tried to speak but couldn't find his voice. Finally, he stammered, This was a joke." His voice was trembling, the phone about to fall from his hand. Jake took a step closer, changing his tone. He was no longer the loving son, but the road captain nicknamed Iron Fist. "A joke?" he said, his voice powerful enough to echo throughout the entire market. "Pushing an elderly woman, scattering her groceries, injuring her is a joke." The Hells Angels members behind him also moved closer. Each one looked at Tyler, the same cold anger in their eyes. Mason tried to run, but Bear Peterson and Wolf Anderson were at the door. Both were 6 feet 5 inches tall, completely blocking the entrance. Jake looked at Tyler's phone. 50,000 people are watching live, he said slowly. "Perfect. Let everyone see now." Jake walked toward Tyler. His boots made noise with each step. Tyler backed away, but hit the shelf. He had nowhere left to run. "Now, apologize to my mother," Jake said, a deadly calm in his voice. Tyler couldn't speak. His mouth was dry. One of Jake's friends, Hammer Johnson, approached, a 280-pound man with arms as thick as tree trunks. "Jake, brother," he said in his deep voice, "nobody messes with your mother. We're here." Viper, Danny Liu, also approached, a Chinese-American, small but very dangerous fighter. "These boys need to learn to respect your mother." Jake looked at Dorothy. "Mom, how do you feel?" Dorothy touched her son's arm. "Jake, I don't want violence. I'm fine. Just an apology is enough for me." Jake listened to his mother's words. Dorothy's heart was always pure. She never wanted to harm anyone. But Jake's eyes were still on the 3 young men. "You heard her?" Jake said. "My mother wants an apology. But first you're going to delete this video." Tyler's phone was still live streaming. There were now 60,000 viewers. Comments were flowing. "Delete the video. Apologize now. You're finished. Hell's Angels don't play." Tyler looked at his phone, trembling. "How can I delete it? It's live." Jake took the phone from Tyler's hand, ended the live stream, then accessed all of Tyler's social media accounts. He deleted the video recordings and removed the shared content. "Now," Jake said, "you're going to apologize to my mother, and you will never disrespect an elderly person again." Tyler, Mason, and Brad dropped to their knees. Their voices were trembling as they looked at Dorothy with fearful eyes. "We're sorry, ma'am," they all said together. "We were very wrong. We're truly sorry." Dorothy smiled kindly, as a woman with a pure heart. "I accept, children. But learn this. Elderly people can teach you life experience. Show us respect." Jake handed Tyler's phone back, but first did something. He closed all of Tyler's accounts. "If you ever say another word about my mother," he said in a low voice, "I'll find you. Hell's Angels are everywhere. Remember that." The next day, Tyler's life was turned upside down. Even though the video was deleted, the internet never forgets anything. Other users had recorded and shared it. It went viral with the title, "Biker Mom Gets Revenge." But this time, Tyler was the one being humiliated. His university friends distanced themselves from him. His girlfriend left him. His family was ashamed. Sponsors canceled their contracts. Mason had a job interview. He was rejected because of the video. Brad's father kicked him out of the house. "I won't have a son who disrespects elderly people," he had said. Tyler couldn't leave his house for days. He was recognized everywhere. But 6 months later, he saw Dorothy at the market again. He approached her. "Ma'am, I've regretted that day ever since. I've really changed." Dorothy looked at him, then smiled. "People can change, Tyler. Prove it." Tyler now works for a volunteer organization that helps elderly people. Mason and Brad joined him too. And Dorothy still goes to Carson Market, but now everyone knows her as the Hells Angels' mother and shows her respect.